Hey YouTubians, it's Tony here from We Try Anything, channel I try anything so you don't have to. Today's video, as you can see from the screen behind me, we're going to be taking a closer look at this Casio WS1600H, which has a module number of 3556. Now in this video, what we'll be doing, we'll be taking a look around this very Casio, talking about some of the design, the materials that make up this watch, some of the features of this watch, and also we'll be highlighting just some of the functions that this watch has got built into that module that you can see here. Now I won't be going too in depth with the functions, I'll just be skimming over them, but I will be creating a tutorial video coming very soon which will just tell you how to use every function on this watch, so keep them peeled and don't forget to subscribe as well when you're there. So this watch was a brand new purchase via amazon.co.uk, and it was, the supplier was Amazon US, so this came all the way from the United States, and I paid between, I'm just trying to think, I think it was about 26 to 30 pound in UK sterling for this very watch. And this watch is available in a few other colors. It's available, and I'm just showing you here, it's available in what would be a black with a black case, black resin, and obviously the silver metal effect bezel. It's also available in this blue color which I'm showing you, which I believe is in the center of the illustration that I'm showing you here. And also you've got an all black version if you wanted a more muted color scheme to your Casio WS1600H. So there's a few variants for you to choose from, and if you don't like something that's blue, you have got the black option to choose from, as well as if you want something with a nice silver highlight, you are catered for there. So there is a few options for you to choose from. So with all of that out the way, let's dig into the Casio W1600H. First of all, let's discover if this watch is for you and your wrist by talking about the Casio WS1600H's sizes that we've got here. The case size from the left hand side to the right hand side, you're looking at 40mm, and even if you add the metal pushes that you can see, two here and two here, you are looking at a total size of 45mm. Lug to lug, or top of the watch to the very bottom of the case, you are looking at a hair under 45mm, and depth wise, so if I turn the watch to its side so you can see from the stainless steel case back to what is known as the acrylic crystal, you are looking at 13mm. Now if I turn the watch just furthermore, what you can see is the inner lug width here, and that's from there just to about there, you are looking at 18mm. So just turn that watch back around. As we were talking about the strap, then I might as well quickly touch on the size of the strap itself. So where the strap flares out, so where it meets the watch's case, you are looking at about 24mm, and just following the watch down the strap to what would be the strap retainer, and just where that plastic Casio emblazoned pin and buckle are, you're looking at about 18mm there. And if I go just to the right here, you've got 24 there and you've got 18mm there. Now the materials wise, we might just carry on with the strap, you are looking at a very nice, what I would say, satin resin effect, and I've got to say it's quite nice. It's quite smooth as well, which is really nice for this watch, and that the same goes there. As you can see, it's nice and satin there. Now if you turn it around and just have a look at the inside of the strap, you can see what is these kind of little raised elements going on there, and those are to help just keep the strap retainer in place when you've got it on your wrist, and also just aids in gripping onto your wrist as well. And as you can see, you've got two ridges either side here as well, and they do have a nice bit of texturing as well, as you can see on the strap. Very nice indeed. It's kind of a little bit of a cross hatching going on there, but otherwise, yeah, very nice strap, and not massively thick, but then not too thin, and it certainly doesn't feel cheap or nasty in any way. You know, you got quite a nice quality resin just on the strap here. In terms of the case, again, it's resin molded plastic that you can see here, and there is a bit of quite a nice texturing effect to the bezel, and it's black just to contrast against the plastic case or the resin case. And I've got to say again, it's really nice, and it does feel quality as well. I mean, this watch, you've got to remember, is brand new, so there's no scratches, but like what would be the acrylic crystal glass that you can see here, it will pick it up. There's no doubt about that. As you do wear these sort of watches over the years, depending on the kind of occupation you have or what kind of outdoor activities or pursuits that you follow, these watches will pick up scratches along the way. And if you have a look at some of the other watches I have featured on the channel, there are some pretty banged up watches on there, and it does show. So just bear that in mind if you are looking for a watch of this type, that especially with the acrylic crystal, they do tend to pick up scratches as well. Right, let's talk about a little bit about the design of this watch. And you may think you're experiencing like what would be deja vu, like you've seen this sort of watch before on the channel. And if you are a subscriber of the channel, then you have seen watches that are very much like the WS1600 that we've got here. And I'll just quickly move that off to the left and I'll show you what is a watch that we previously featured on the channel, which is the AE1200. Now to the left, I would say that is more of an upgrade to the one on the right, purely because they share the same functions as each other. So for example, if I just quickly show you the modes and just quickly cycle through them, as you can see, both have got a stopwatch and the same way in which they display the stopwatch, and the same way in which the stopwatch works, which I'll quickly show you in a minute. Again, you've got the timer, and again the timer works in exactly the same way as each other. You've got interval timing that you can do. Also, you've got what would be, if I just press that mode button, world time, as you can see here. And also you've got the single daily alarm and hourly signal that this watch got, and they're both the same really in the way that they work, and then obviously go back to the time. But there's also another watch that is more or less the same as these two, just that it's a totally different way in which the module works, and that is the one I'm going to bring over to here, which is the AE1200. It's also known as the Casio Royale, and this is more of a, well, it is a world timer watch. I mean, it does feature some modes on there for world time alarm. Obviously you get a timer and you get a stopwatch as well, so it is quite a fully functioned watch. But in terms of the design, sizes, straps, etc., they are basically the same. And if anything, you could probably put the stainless steel strap that you can see, or bracelet, on this watch as much as you can put it on that watch as well, or you can swap the straps around on these watches, etc. Or there is mods that you can get for what is the AE1200, where you can get leather straps that will fit this watch, but in theory they should fit these watches as well. So it is quite, it's quite a nice lineup from Casio, and what I like about them is that you can interchange certain elements of each of the watches to give yourself something a little bit more bespoke. So it's, even though, yeah, the design or the kind of case sizes and the case makeup is the same, I do think it's a very nice added advantage for this range of watches. Moving more onto the LCD display, I've got to say I find it very, very readable. And even at a distance as well, you can easily read the time on that. And I also like the way that it features what would be the seconds and the minutes, etc., on the time indicator graphic at the top. And I do find it a little bit better, and I think I do repeat myself later on in this video, where I do say, while I like the way it displays the time on the AE1300, I just think it just works a little bit better here. And also what I like about this watch is the light function as well. So if I move the watch off to the right hand side, and if I press this button here, what you'll see is you'll see the watch, or the watch's two LED amber lights lighting up there. And I'm just showing you a little clip to the right with the watch in darkness and semi-darkness, and it does have what would be like a 1.5 second, what Casio likes to call as an afterglow, and that afterglow is more or less like a delay, or illumination stays on for about 1.5 seconds. So it is really nice to see the time in the dark, and I do like that amber glow. Now the only thing I will mention is that my camera does tend to pick up the backlight better than what you do see in real life, but it's still easy to read the time and easy to understand the time from using the backlight on the Casio WS1600H. So overall, I do like the overall design. I think it works really well with each other. I think the metal pushers just make the watch just give that added little bit of bling to the overall feel of the watch. The decals on the watch, yeah, they don't stand out too much, to be fair. Now, as just still talking about the display, let's have a look at the ghosting effect on this watch. And I've got to admit, it's not bad at all. It's probably one of the better ones to see. Obviously, it's got to be an extreme angle for any kind of LCD ghosting to kick in. But other than that, it's absolutely no problem at all. This watch also, I might as well just quickly go over the features. As I say, it's got a 10-year battery. It powers what the module is, which has an accuracy of plus or minus 30 seconds per month. And also this watch, if I just turn it around to show its stainless steel case back, you can see it's got 100, or what would be 100 meters of water resistance, or what's known as 10 bar. And obviously you can see the module number here, and I have linked to the instructions of this watch below for this watch, so you can just find out how to use it more in depth. It's got 12 and 24 hour formats, which you can see here. So that's 12 hour with it being P, and 24 hour being military time in the USA. It's got a built-in automatic calendar, so once you set it, you can get it up to what would be 20 $9.99. This watch also features what is known as a mute button option as well, which means when you say, for example, if you long press the mode button, and what you'll see is a little musical symbol with a cross through it. I'll just quickly show you there. And what that means is any button presses now are silent, which is a handy little feature if you just don't want to disturb other people with the operation of this watch. And you can easily turn it on again by just keeping your button pressed, and you can see that the option has switched off. Some of the features spoken about this, obviously this watch is packed full of functions. So if I just press this button here, the mode button, as you can see, it's got a stopwatch, and the stopwatch, it's not your usual stopwatch. So for example, if you press the start on the stopwatch, as you can see, you got the time indicator racing away. You don't stop it by any means. You have to stop it by just resetting it. So just bear that in mind. It's not your usual traditional stopwatch, but this stopwatch has a measuring capacity that goes up to 60 minutes, and also the lower display will go up to what would be 100 minutes, and it will allow you to measure in elapsed time, but also it does have an event timer built into it as well. It's got a countdown timer that has preset measuring units, so as you can see here, you can choose them for whatever it is you're counting down from. And obviously when you go past the time in which it's count down to, it will start to count what would be time on top of that. So if you're doing a game of football that's 45 minutes each side, and you want to include what would be stoppage time, once the 45 minutes have gone down to 0, it will start counting upwards. So that's quite a nice little feature of this watch. It also features what would be intervals as well, or interval timer, which means you can set up to 9 timers that have a preset with separate starting times as well for timing intervals. And also you've got what's known as auto repeat, which means you can turn, if I just quickly show you, you can set obviously your own interval timing, and it will go up to 9, but you can press the button here and you can do what's known as auto repeat. So once you're, say for example, the time is counted down an interval 1, and you've done another interval, as it were, interval 2, and that's ended, it will start again from interval 1. So it's quite a nice little feature on that, especially if you are into high intensity training and stuff like that. It is a nice little option. This watch also has what's known as world time. So if you've got people who live around the other side of the world, or business associates, say for example in New York or in America or anywhere around the world, you can set this world time to be any one of the 48 cities built into this watch, as well as 29 time zones. So, and also, as well as the city code that you can see displayed here, you do have the option to turn on daylight saving time for that specific city as well, which is a nice little function. The final function built into this module as well for this Casio WS1600H is that you also have what is known as a single daily alarm, which you can set, no problem at all. And also it has an hourly signal as well, so that will mean it will sound on the hour every hour, and easily you can turn them on and turn them off via that button below. And that's it really on this watch. There is a lot more to this watch than what I've shown you, and I will be doing a tutorial of this watch very soon, which digs more in depth into this watch. But it has got a lot of functions and features built into this watch, which are just it's so immense for the amount of money that you do pay for this watch. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to pop this watch on my wrist and see what it's like to wear. And here it is on my 6.5-inch wrist, and I've got to say the Casio WS1600 wears really well. It's very comfortable on the wrist. There's no hand inhibitions, and it wears really well. It is comfortable. There's nothing nipping at my arm or anything like that, and especially the ridges here, there's nothing nipping just going on there. There's nothing like that, and it wears really well. And I've got to say, it looks really nice on the wrist as well. Now, in terms of attire would you wear with this watch, I would probably say it's more of a casual daily driver watch in terms of t-shirts and hoodies and jeans, etc. I wouldn't wear this formally really for a kind of a formal occasion, unless you do really want to stand out. But in terms of how this watch wears, I've got to say, I think it's a really nice watch to have on the wrist. What will be the legibility of the LCD display is really on point in terms of the very clear typeface and the information on the watch, and it does have a nice bit of dynamism at the top in terms of how that LCD display works. And overall, I've got to say, in terms of the comfort level of this watch, yeah, no problem at all. So what are my thoughts on this Casio WS1600H, which has a module number of 3556? Well, I think it is a great watch. And if you've got the AE1200, which is also known as the Casio Royale, which is a world timer, or the AE1300, you pretty much know what you're going to get really, because it all wears the same. The other thing to mention, if you do have the AE1300 watch, which has the 3 sub dials in which it's got the indicators for the time, etc., this is more of an upgrade really. I prefer the LCD display on this watch over the 1300, but it does share a lot of the same functions. And you may prefer the 1300 because of the circular dials or sub dials on them, but for me, I do prefer the way this all integrates in the design of the overall watch. It gives it more to me, more of that kind of square feeling, which I really like, and more it fills the space nicely on the LCD display. But again, a lot of the functions and features of this watch are going to fly over my head because I only really tend to wear a watch for the time and also the date, etc., and use the odd alarm if I really need to. But other than that, yeah, it's a great watch. So would I buy this watch again? I would. I really do like the look of it. I think it works really well. The only thing I will say, if you are looking for a watch of this type, it doesn't have the traditional stopwatch in terms of stop start. It's a bit more unique in the way it works. And also the timers, you can set them, but they tend to be in intervals really, because they are more suited to sports timing events, etc. So it goes up to 45 minutes like in a football game. And also it's got interval timings as well, which I think it's got up to 9 interval timings. So if you're into high intensity training, this watch would be a fantastic watch for you if you are into that level of exercise, etc. Really, it's a great watch. So I'd give it a massive thumbs up. For the price, £25 up to between £25 and £30, you get an awful lot of features, functions, and obviously with the 100 meters of water resistance as well, versatility with this watch. So it gets a massive thumbs up from me, and I think it's a great watch. So go out and have a look and see how it looks on your wrist. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Always helps the channel. If you want to see more videos from the We Try Anything channel, then please click on the subscription button below. And thank you for watching this video, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Goodbye.